please tell me all about Ballahack. So what kind of field is Ballahack?
To summarize it, it's voted US's #1 outdoor field of 2022. So right then and there, that should tell you about its reputation. But first, I would like to talk about their staff. So it started as a volunteer system, and you would have most of the time regular players volunteer to marshal.
Okay.
Very recently, I'd say in the past year, maybe a little more, they've gone from a volunteer system to an actual business model, and they have hourly paid marshals, which they've gained a lot more of, and especially recently, the marshaling and the staffing has become very, very good at what they do.
Wait, so when you pay people to marshal, they do a better job than when they do it for free?
Right.
Wow.
No, they were paid. It was a volunteer system in terms of hours, but they did pay you for when you worked. Now they have, like scheduling, you have an hourly rate, but the main thing that it fixed was the amount of marshals, because on the volunteer system, you would have sometimes 2 or 3 marshals to watch over a 90-acre field and 200 to 300 players on a regular basis. There's not exactly. So anybody that has issues, most of the time there's not a marshal there to help you, or not a marshal there that was able to witness the event. That sometimes would make some players feel like they aren't being heard. And with the new marshaling system, they've gotten a lot more marshals. Now regularly you have 5 blue shirts on the field, and with that's, they wear blue shirts, 5 marshals on the field. And you have even more staff, working the registers, working the chrono station, on the other side of the field. It goes a lot smoother. There's a lot less situations that you hear about, because instead of the player feeling like they were wronged in a way and they're talking about it off the field, there was a marshal there to help them with the situation. And it was either discovered that there wasn't a situation or that a situation was handled. So, it's a lot easier, not only on the community, but a lot easier on the marshaling staff because of the new system they have. Another thing I'd like to point out, going from staffing to player base, is I have always said, even growing up, that Ballahack's community should be the model of what every airsoft community strives to be. And it has its lows, but it also has very high highs. And for years, ever since I started playing, I have realized that the community of Ballahack, whether they be indoor players from another field in Virginia, or, local milsim players that just enjoy the outdoors, or a birthday party that came to try for the first time, everyone is accepting of everyone. People might have some problems on the field, but that has never resulted in physical aggression off the field or on the field.
Nice.
The only type of altercation that has ever happened at Ballahack is verbal altercations, and it has never gotten to a point of physical altercations because the staff has an absolute zero tolerance policy on verbal altercation.
That's good.
When it reaches verbal altercation, both players are thrown off the field for a game or sometimes the day.
Nice. That's what it should be.
Exactly. And because of that, the community as a whole, every once in a while, you'll have a new player acting like a bad apple, I'll say, acting like you shouldn't. And the community as a whole will let that player know, whether it be like actually talking to him or through shooting him a lot during gameplay, that's not okay. It's one or the other. Most of the time it's the other. But that player realizes that that's not how you play very quickly. And most of the time, a bad apple is either going to change his ways and then be accepted in our community rather than pushed away or gatekept. But should those bad apples not want to change, they typically leave, because our community is thankfully not accepting of bad apples.
Yeah, that makes sense. When no one wants to be places that they feel they're not accepted. So yeah, I can see that. Where is Ballahack Airsoft?
Ballahack is located in Chesapeake, Virginia. So in a more generalized term, East Coast side, right in the middle of the East Coast of the U.S. But Chesapeake, Virginia is a fairly swampy terrain. It is 90 acres of woodlands, but they have it really cleared out. They have like a lake-sized pond that I've seen people go swimming in. They had one game with Novrich where Novrich was literally on a jet ski in the pond with an LMG shooting at players.
Nice.
They have so much land to work with. They have trails going off into woods that you can go into knee-deep or waist-deep swamp to get this really nice flank. They have structures within those woods to provide objectives for games or for cover during gameplay. They have the walkway to the field not only lets you have woods on either side, which are part of gameplay, but your walkway brings you into what we call the town, which is quite literally a town. You could have a little community live there if you provided power and plumbing. But you have a 4-story rappel tower that they used to let the military that were local do trading drills on before they opened up as an airsoft field. They have a 2-story Escher building across. They have plenty of structures in between. It's a fairly large town, and it's great for CQB combat. And that's one of my favorite things about this field, is you have prime land for outdoor gameplay. Not too open, not too closed up, plenty of cover, not horrible weather. But you also have man-made prime CQB gameplay for outdoors, I'll say. It's not necessarily every 5 feet you're turning a corner, but for an outdoor scene, it is very CQB, and especially once you're in the buildings, they're very, every room seems to have a purpose, every room seems to have an entry and an exit, or a reason for defense.
I like that. When you have airsoft fields that are logical in regards to where your engagements are coming from, it's so much more fun to play. When you're just playing a field that's just random barricades, it's kind of annoying because you can't cover all the angles, and you cover one line, you get hit by another line. But when you play inside basically a house or an abandoned building where hey, there's 2 entrance points, or there's egress points, or you're hey, they're going to come from this place or this place, it's so much more fun playing because you can predict the movement so much better.
I'll put it like this. The town was not nearly as big as it is now, but when the town started, the structures that were in place were made for military training. So everything had a reason. So some structures they've added, don't necessarily seem to have as much of a reason, but they've tried to keep that theme going with that town. And on top of that, with what you would consider the more open part of the field, the more nothing but woodland and swamp type part of the field in the north, they more recently decided to turn that into another town. So they've been adding Connex boxes back there. They repaved the entire main trail going down there, so it's not, stepping in mud the entire way. But they've done a lot of things, and that's also probably one of my favorite parts about the field is the money they make. They put just as much money into making the field better for the players. They're always changing the field. They're always adding to it. It's a organic field.
All right, for our next questions, I'm going to just give you a topic, and I want you to give me a short 1-sentence answer. All right, staging area.
Should never have a mag in your weapon.
Rental equipment.
Amazing for starters.
All right, what about security at the field? Do they have lockers? Are there cameras? Are people going to steal your stuff?
Unfortunately, they do not have lockers. They do have cameras, but they only have cameras on the barn in terms of looking at the outdoor parking lot. So there have been a few times where there have been thefts. Most of the time it happens when you have events, so you have a lot of people coming from out of town that don't normally play at the field. Sadly, I know one of my buddies firsthand. He brought a friend out, and his friend was using one of his guns, and that gun ended up being stolen during it was a rev event that had over 1,200 players. You know what I mean? So it was just so many people. And at that point, it was it sucks that happened at the field, but at the field, every briefing they let you know is please lock your cars, because we cannot stand by. We don't have enough personnel to watch over this entire parking lot.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell whose gun is whose, because if everyone's running an M4, they all look the same. But yeah, it's important to take care of your stuff. Last one, just price. How expensive is it?
At Ballahack, it is $30 to play, or $30 to play for the entire day. That's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're open Saturdays and Sundays, and during the summers, they're open on Wednesdays. They have an air pass you can get for $8. So if you had an HPA tank, it would be $38 to play total. And
Okay,
that's
cool.
unlimited air refills and the entire day of gameplay.